Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another Filming Stories. This one again we're doing on my phone, just because I have some space on my phone just to record, and I might actually transfer to my camera because I might do two filming stories because there's a part of me that feels as though this needs to like stop, like it really needs to. Um, But here we are once again, talking about another short that I had just put out there. This one being The Game. And this one was kind of, uh, again, sporadic nature, but there's a little bit of a different wrinkle to it, how it kind of came about, or at least the construction of it, in terms of production. Um, quote unquote production, which was literally like maybe an hour at best. Then there was like maybe 2 days worth of like editing it out, um, but um, I think it kind of falls in line with a kind of an expansion about what I was kind of talking about in if you if anybody, it sounds weird to say, but if anybody saw that short, because I don't promote these things, so like it's weird to say, but if anyone cared to check out, I guess, but better, if anyone cared to check out, um, I feel like this sort of expands or kind of is in some ways spiritually, taking on a similar perspective, but it's a little bit more ambiguous because it's more about what is not being said, versus what's literally being said. In the case of I, it was a lot more about just literally just talking, just talking in a big, philosophical type of sense, and I mean, obviously, to me, it's philosophical. I mean, if you believe it's just pure bullshit, I mean, that's totally fine. Um, but in this case, though, it's a little more ambiguous, and it's like I said, it's more to do with what is not being said, or what is being said through, um, what is being said through it, without actually having to say it out loud. Kind of like speaking in code in a way, um, because the whole idea of the game is something greater than just what it seems, because obviously when it's shown that the duality, that is presented, in that stark, you know, uh, difference in shading, and filters, that's meant to give an idea that, that there's something more to it, something potentially psychological, something that's a little bit more rudimentary. Hopefully, that if at that point got across, um, but for me anyway, at least the idea of it was kind of a statement on life itself, and the idea of ultimately how how you move. Like at least to me anyway, it's more of a just a comment on the whole principle of life itself. To me, it's a game. We're all in it. We're all in this game. Whether we want to be a part of it or not. Ultimately, kind of like as the kind of as the film kind of describes, it's like the only way for you to know if you're good at the game is to literally play the game. And in life, is that is very true. You don't know necessarily if you are capable of doing something until you actually, give it a go. Or at least in some cases. In other cases, it's best to maybe not to participate. But everything that you do, even without participating or participating, it's all a game at the end of the day. And it's just all things that we're doing just to satisfy ourselves before our time is up, essentially. You know, so it's just a self fulfillment ultimately. And trying to ignore that part of us that might actually doubt all this, like or if people buy into it, most people do. but I guess it comes with also just being isolated myself. It's just like I've never fully bought into all this stuff, but that's essentially what it's getting at, and um, it was a little more involved because kind of being different from Waves. With Waves, I just kind of put it out as it was. I didn't really touch anything with the audio because I didn't feel that there was a huge need to do so. But in this case, I actually felt that there was a need for it. So did a lot of audio work. I'm not saying it's perfect. Just I did what I did with it, and obviously doing the split. With having two me's, which sounds very egotistical, um, which probably is. Uh, Two of those in the same frame, which that was fun. I mean, I've always was kind of interested, and because I've seen some videos where people do that, and I always wonder how does that get accomplished. And now I've, at least in my own experience, I can see how it could be achieved. Just keeping that shot stationary and then just plucking yourself in two different points. And I'm very happy with where the timing of that, because that was a big concern of mine going into editing it. I was very concerned about the timing of that specific shot. So I'm happy that, it kind of lined up, and a lot of it was a coincidence and a lot of it was just happenstance. Um, Even, with the dialogue, which I know is very minimal, there was actually a little bit more that was meant to be said, but where things stopped, ultimately I just felt, just based on how it all kind of flowed, it just felt more interesting to it actually stopping with that last idea of, things living and dying. I kind of liked that being the last thing, because it kind of leaves again on that little ambiguous note, and then you're left with that image again with two me's in the same frame, and there's like that stark contrast between the tints. I think that again is kind of interesting. Um, so so yeah. So I mean, I just kind of threw this together just because I was I've been having these thoughts for a little bit about just what is you know rooted in reality, and ultimately what is just a big fat game. And for a lot of what we're doing in life, it really is just a game. And either you win or you lose, and either you play the same game again or you go off to do something different. So, but that's the game. I mean, it was yeah, it kind of just came about, and then by almost an impulse, I just decided one day, just like, hey, why not just film it? Um, and here we are. So yeah. So that's my little experience with the game, and yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in for this filming stories. I'm going to be filming another one now, actually talking a little bit more about this process of making four shorts this year, and ultimately where it all is coming from and how it affects me personally. So we're gonna get into all that, but until then, thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.